Peace, peace. It's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. Quick business. For my Patreon subscribers, the daily moon sign or the monthly moon sign readings will be starting on Sunday because that's when I have the most free time. And if I don't jump on those moon sign readings, they add up and I get a little overwhelmed and stressed out. But if I got the time to really address them all at once, really try to get in on Sunday. But if you don't get in on Sunday, that's fine. But it sort of trickles after I first initially drop it, and then it kind of trickles in and I can handle it. But Sunday, we're dropping the moon sign reading. So I'm making sure to be hella clear and have hella focus and clean my space and, consecrate my space. So Sunday will be the best day to get your monthly moon sign readings. Like, might even be like Saturday night, or more or less Sunday morning. But anyways, peace, family. Today, peace to everybody. On the live, and if you catch this video post live, peace to you wherever you find this video. Peace. Calm. I say peace, but I really have a deeper meaning when I say peace. Peace and calm is part of Gnosticism. And when we have troubles and we have anxiety and disappointments and things of that nature, if we really want to find a solution, we can find that solution in the modality of peace. So with that being said, that's what I offer. And this is kind of a safe space for peace, calm, and finding out different solutions by which many different individuals be faced with throughout time. So the concept that we're going to be dealing with is consecration. And consecration is basically to make sacred. And there's a lot of different things within our lives, within our beings, within our understanding that we simply have to make sacred, because that is how things become holy, or that's how things become magical. Yesterday, I put out a video titled "The Mysteries of Jesus Christ," and it spoke to how a Greek conqueror was able to consecrate the image of Serapis, and thus it created spiritual power. And now, throughout the world, that energy still, in some ways, still reigns supreme based upon it being consecrated in the Egyptian temples. So And even more so in my new moon and Aquarius video, we spoke to how we could actually create the life that we want to live in our relationships, but the actual ability to bring that into realization, you have to know what you want. And a lot of people struggle with knowing exactly what they want and working to it. Knowing exactly what you want is an ideal, but then to make what you want sacred is to consecrate it. And you have that ability, you have that spark, what Gnostics would like to say. We all have that spark, and today we're going to discuss the abstractions or obstructions to that initial spark, and how do we begin to create our lives and make our lives more spiritual. And ultimately, it starts with your mythology. Do you know your mythology? Are you aware of your mythology? Have you worked your mythology out? Do you know what mythology is? Is mythology important to your everyday experience? And I say, because you have that spark, because you have that initial essence or primordial energy, then you are part of a particular nobility. Born with it. Distinguished, worthy of honor and respect, and very much illustrious. And this energy rests within all of us. But do we create the proper myths? So today we're going to try to talk it out. Hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this resonates, because if it does, then you have your solution. And the first thing that we do when developing a solution is have peace, because we can't be frustrated or full of anxiety and things of that nature and trying to find solutions for us. I know we're going through a lot. I know that things seem a little shaky, but the first thing that we have to establish is peace. So peace. And the aspects that we're going to be talking today is one aspect in particular, Venus conjunct the moon, and Ophiuchus, or Western Sagittarius, and then trine Uranus. Not talking about a lot of different astrological aspects, but I think that this is very telling and very powerful based upon the moon's darkness is conjunct in Venus, so it feels sort of like an eclipse. So therefore, subconsciously, we're able to free ourselves from particular ideals and thought structures that may slow us down, that may hold us up. And how is the individual going to begin to address the things that are blocking him when it comes to freedom, when it comes to salvation? Because if we're inundated by the material life, we're dealing with the level of oppression that we're seeking to be free from. So let's just talk about the astrological concepts in detail based upon their Sabian symbol. So Venus conjunct Moon, 26 degrees of Sagittarius. The Sabian symbol is the consecration to an ideal. And it also speaks to developing or understanding your nobility. So if one was to consecrate an ideal, that would have to be based upon personal knowledge and personal experience. And if one is to incorporate that into real life, then one would have to incorporate shared knowledge. So finding that balance. If we look on the side of shared knowledge at the very bottom, we can see that shared knowledge can change through paradigm shifts. And how we actually create paradigm shifts is within. This is a mild example, and this might not even be true, but this is something that I hold on to. It was a time where I wanted to be on the move and listen to music, so it was like they created Walkmans. And then when they created CDs, I wanted to listen to my CDs on the run, and then they created Discman. And then the CDs kept getting scratched up, and I was just like, man, I wish I could just listen to music without nothing. And then they created MP3 players and so forth and so on. So therefore, it's like within you, once you create a need, then somewhere, somebody somewhere, it might be somebody in Silicon Valley, somewhere, it might be somebody in India, that need is now being responded to somewhere, and now is the goal to connect those particular ideas. But how serious are you to creating your myth? How serious are you to understanding and why we do certain things? Is very important. But I'll bring this all back down to earth if you just give me 1 second. So responsibility is what this energy is trying in Uranus, and this is, to me, is the real focus. Your responsibility. Like, I was studying this last night, and I kind of hit a wall in where I was gonna go with this kind of conversation, because it was like, I've been over Uranus in the 28th degree mark of Aries many times this month. There's been many different aspects to this particular placement. So I was like, what else can I talk about when it comes to this particular placement? And I fell asleep, and I guess I dreamt on it, because when I woke up, the idea was responsibility and your ability to respond. And to me, this makes a lot more sense when it comes to planning and working with people and understanding your life. Is how do they respond, and what is their ability to respond, and what causes a person not to respond. And it would be disappointments and expectations. So how well does a person process their disappointment and expectations is really key when understanding this energy. Putting it all together, the consecration to an ideal, nobility, disappointments, expectations, responsibility. Like, I'm really trying to make sense of it, and then it dawns on me that this is simply talking about Gnosis. And Gnosis is personal knowledge and personal experience. And Gnosis, nothing can interrupt Gnosis, because you know your experience. And when it comes to disappointments and expectations is when we forgo Gnosis and we deal with the world. And when you deal with yourself, you deal with the universe. So knowing the difference of the world and the universe, and what has more power, your energy, your primordial, your root to creation, thought, and all of that is a universal energy. So when you come to know it, when you come to understand it, then your whole outlook is changed, and then your response to certain stimuli and situations change. And when people don't develop Gnosis, then you kind of understand in relationships, there's really nothing you can do, because their ability to respond is going to always be that. An example is, I can get personal, I guess, to really make this make some type of sense, because I know it's kind of a hard thing to grasp. So responsibility is in relationships is a real basic example is, if my wife cheats on me, how would I respond to that? If I've never dealt with a woman that's cheated on me, then I would, and my response to that probably would be negative, or would probably be toxic. It would probably be damaging to her emotional field and things of that nature. The way that I respond so caringly to a woman cheating on me is because early in my 20s, even later in my 20s, I used to deal with women who cheated on me for a living. So I really, but the goal, or the lesson was, like, I really enjoyed being around those women, because I felt, I don't know, I was just happier, where it was no pressure from like the regular. And not to say that I stayed in those types of relationships, but I learned a lot by dealing with women who were more promiscuous than, say, my wife. So now when I deal with like a good woman, I'm more caring and more appreciative because of the lessons that I learned in my 20s. So therefore, when it comes to future planning with my wife, my response and my ability to respond, I feel, is very strong. And her ability to respond is very strong based upon, the things that we talk about and the things that we've actually experienced. So from personal knowledge to shared knowledge to really understanding, okay, I'm gonna be with this person no matter what because we've created a mythology. And so, in understanding the mythology is not that deep. Mythos is just simply, the etymology of mythos is speech, thought, story, myth, anything delivered by word or mouth. Therefore, we create mythos every single day. Our whole life, we're creating a mythos because mythos is speech, thought, story, myth, anything delivered by word or mouth. Myths are stories about divine beings generally arranged in a coherent system that are revered as true and sacred. So, bringing back to the original point of this build, where Venus conjunct Moon at the 26-degree mark is the consecration of an ideal, which is to actually make your ideal or make your mythos sacred. That's really your responsibility. And how we actually do that, easy way, is to understand your chart. It goes from cosmos, and then if you understand your chart, you deal with your chart consistently for a year, really trying to understand your chart. You really tap into a level of deification, and that deification combined with your human nature is your salvation. And salvation isn't the end of the story. Once you are saved, or once you free yourself from your ego or from your monkey mind, as they like to say, from there you have to develop a particular conduct, and from there you walk into destiny. So the idea that we really want to work with is understanding ourselves at an astrological level. If we don't, because if we understand ourselves at an astrological level, then we can really deify ourselves and we can really free ourselves, where we look at ourselves from a human aspect of whether we get this job or whether we get this business or whether we, find this relationship. If that's the thing that's going to save you, then that's the thing that's actually blocking you. The thing that we really want to really focus on is what's stopping us from our truth, and really not avoiding the frustration that we feel, the irritability that we feel, or even the anger that we feel, and processing it is not projecting it. So when it comes to things, are we processing it or are we projecting it? That would be the real question that I would ask, because based upon this card, based upon this particular deacon, based upon my personal experience, this feels like a tough time. And the Ten of Wands really speaks to how to overcome or address this tough time as opposed to avoiding it. And the problem that we've done, that we've allowed another entity, another person, another spirit dominate ours. That's why the power comes in creating the mythos, the speech, thought, story, myth, or anything delivered by word of mouth. This is your responsibility. Can you see where I'm going with it? Can you see the direction? I know it was kind of like, because even for me, it was like lottery balls. And then, like, how the lottery balls be just going everywhere, and then like it go boop, 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 and you see the winning number, and it's like, I hope that the lottery balls wasn't so confusing that we can be able to reach a consensus to overcoming particular frustrations, particular anger, is to really control our story. control our speech, manage our thought by mindfulness, intuition, peace, calm. All of these things play a factor. Realization, understanding that you're more than this human body, understanding that you don't live in a space of ideas, you live in a space of action, you live in a space of getting things done. So where are you in the understanding of yourself at a cosmological level? Or do you just know yourself at a human level? I'm good at this, I'm not good at that. You know, if I was just to look at myself as a human level, I would have felt like I'm very shy. Um, you know, I don't, people don't really like me, or, you know, things of that nature. I piss people off, or, you know, I'm not that attractive. If I was just looking at things on a human level. But as I study my astrology and different correspondences, and studying myself from the Vedic point of view, studying myself from the Western point of view, studying my life path number, studying my gematria of my name, my first name, my middle name, my last name, you know, all of this, you know, to the point where you study so much, you get dreams where it's like, you know, your name ain't Kyrie, your name is Melchizedek. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is a Melchizedek? And then everywhere, like, I'll just be sitting somewhere on YouTube. You know how you just be down them YouTube rabbit holes, and you just be like, the greatest people in the world called themselves Melchizedeks. And I'm just like, okay. Like, I just chose that name on a whim because I heard it whispered to me, and I heard a lot of different other names whispered to me. Some names, they say you can say these names, and then certain names say, you know, don't say this shit out in public because people can control you or people can dominate you. And part of being dominated by other entities is based upon you not knowing. But once you step into Gnosis or step into knowledge, you have to free yourself from all exoteric knowledge and open yourself to esoteric knowledge. And the beautiful part about esoteric knowledge is that it is yours. You create it, and the things that have already been established, you know, you can kind of step back from. And this is the difficult part, because some of these things that have been set up in the society has benefited you, or so it seems. An example would be like food stamps, where a person might feel like getting an amount of food stamps might benefit them. But I would say if you did not have those food stamps, then you would think of different ways to get food on the table that might be way more than $250 a month. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you might make more than $250 a month. Like, it's been times where I've got a small salary, and I've been in that space of receiving that small salary and sacrificing myself for a small salary when there was more that I could have done with my mind to make way more money. And this is more of a constant progression and constant understanding. So, once again, hope that message resonated. But if it didn't, I'm also available for questions, and I do provide notes. So it was somebody who asked to be on the notes yesterday, and I didn't respond, and I apologize. But once I get off of here, I'm gonna respond. I don't know. I wasn't busy yesterday. Just going off them edibles. So peace. Any questions? This is my last day for the week. So anything that we want to discuss, we can discuss it now, while you got me live. But I'm gonna be working on other content through the rest of the week, and I'm gonna be working on other content like the mysteries of Jesus Christ. I'm gonna work on a part 2 to that. Don't ask me why I'm doing these Jesus Christ videos, because I'm literally following my spirit on these joints. So, you know, the next one is, you know, is Jesus Christ a woman? And we're going to really deep dive into the mysteries of Jesus Christ. And so, my relationship with Jesus Christ might be different from other people, because this nigga come to me in my dreams a lot. You know, he shows up as a black man. I've actually chilled with Jesus in prison, believe it or not. I know this sounds crazy and far fetched to you, but I wouldn't lie to y'all. So, you know, Jesus was like 6'4", and he protected me while I was in prison because y'all, like, I can't fight. Let's get that straight out the. I never could fight. Never wanted to harm another person. Like, I never had that in me. So I had like this 6'4" dude named Stanley. He would, he held me down. You understand? Like, it wasn't for nothing either. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, um, he would just give me advice. Like, when I was in prison, I matured a lot. And so I matured based upon talking to other men, which I never had that one-on-one experience with men before. So it was a ability to grow. And he he came to jail. He got out, but once he got out of jail, he would come to me in my dreams, like, and he didn't never say his name was Jesus. He just had on a shirt that said Jesus every time he would come to me in my dreams. And sometimes when I'd be falling off, he'd come to me on my dreams, start shaking my head, like, you fucking up, and I would just get myself together. So, maybe this is my own personal fantasy, but he come to me in my dreams and start breaking different things down to me, and I'll look online, and the shit that I never even knew would be there. And so to me, it's part of my myth making and myth creation. I did see that Saturn's rings was disappearing and dissolving. I mean, Saturn to me, it's a lot of different books. Like, I don't really want to get into the Saturn thing because, like, I done lost friends over Saturn. Like, if we opened up a can of worms and I was like, oh, read the Saturn Code by David, whatever, and like you would be talking to me about a whole bunch of crazy shit afterwards, because that's what generally happens. I don't know. Saturn is the planet of boundaries and the planet of restriction, and this is the planet of the world that we are accustomed to. Now that Saturn's rings are dissolving, thoughts of polygamy, thoughts of polyandry, thoughts of, multiple businesses, multiple relationships, nuclear family. And the reality is that Saturn's rings have always been an illusionary phenomenon. So therefore, all stigmas have, even throughout histories, there have been juke joints, there have been brothels and things of that nature. There's been, there's been tribal living where people could create different forms of relationships outside of dominant Western society, and where now it's like a free for all. So if you're not really in tune with your partner and things of that nature, and you're not really in tune with your future and things of that nature, then it's really much of a, people are taking those reins and taking that control, and that kind of points to the card of the day as well, because the planet that rules the third decan of Sagittarius is Saturn, and that force that is riding you, you really need to check that shit. Like, you are not in my life to make me better, to make me, to check me. Like, you're either in my life to help me do better, be better, or you need to find another spirit to dominate or another spirit to control. And you got to really be mindful of that, because the shit that you really say to yourself, like, oh, I need to be like this, oh, I need a woman like this, like, man, that shit is really the limit that you really put on yourself. And the fact of Saturn not being prominent as it once was, we have to really take that into account. Nate, I would look up the concordance to the number 44, the Greek and Hebrew, find out what those words are. I will look up the gematria to your name. So like even right now, you said Nate. Your name is Nate D. So to me, I see four letters and D being the fourth letter. So that's 44 right there. It could be a foundation to manifestation for you, where your life is surrounded by 44s and you're just really not paying attention. 44 is really the base understanding of as above, so below. If there are four base elements in this earth, air, water, and fire, therefore above there must be an celestial earth, a celestial air, a celestial water, and a celestial fire. I hope I said all four. But 44 is just that paradigm showing up in numerical form that you are somewhat of a magician. You are somewhat have to work with those elements in the lower realm and the upper realm. I feel like that really is the truth for you. So take with that information. If it makes sense to you, ride with it. If it doesn't, um, I suggest starting at Gnosticism. Honestly, it depends on what you really what's your if you were grew up Muslim, I suggest starting off at Sufism. If you grew up Christian, I would suggest starting off at Gnosticism. If you grew up in Jewish, I would suggest studying the Kabbalah and things like that. Just follow the ancient mystery system for which you grew up in. Is going to be easier to digest all of the other esoteric knowledge. It You just have to find a level of comfort to expand. So it just depends on how you were raised. If you weren't raised in religion, I would start off as some form of Wicca or paganism, a book that really deals with the foundations of nature spirits and things of that nature. Uh, and if you don't like to read, because I understand that, I would suggest spending time in nature and not just in daytime. Figure out how to be in nature in nighttime. That is where the most lessons are in life. If you ever wanted to learn something, you ever wanted to kind of like get some money or break free of something, go out in the dark time, spend a night out in nature, and you will really break free of any particular chains. If you like your houses are so houses they reign supreme in all throughout astrology. If you are 11th house anything, then whether it's western or sidereal, you're still 11th house. So if you know the time of birth, then figuring out what house your sun sign is in, what house your moon sign is in, is really gonna help you. The interesting thing about me, I'm a ninth house moon and I'm a 11th house sun, and I have a son that was born on 9/11, and I just kind of thought about that, but it really makes sense to me based upon what I'm doing now. Ninth house being the house of Sagittarius, or the house of, living your path and living your purpose, and the 11th house is the house of social engagement. So that's kind of where I'm at in this moment, and what I can see for my son, because he has a charm and a allure about himself that you can see as a newborn. So understanding numerical frequencies is important as well. The houses help you tap into that particular numerical frequency. And no matter what you're studying, sidereal or western, you have the same houses. You may not have the same constellations, but you always have the same houses and you have the same aspects. Prince Nakeem, I'm gonna add you to the notes. 911, that's what's up. Yeah, that's a powerful frequency, like within itself. And you want to look for particular frequencies in your astrology. You want to look at for particular frequencies in your wife, you know. Even so, my son, right, I'm a ninth house moon and 11th house sun, and my wife, her birthday is 11/19. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and even it ties like we would have a son that was born on 9/11, because that's really our numbers. You know what I'm saying? That's our numbers together. And so really understanding those particular frequencies and thought patterns is very important. To start your mythos, you start with the moon. Wherever your moon sign is at, you want to start from there. You want to deal with this particular aspects, because subconsciously you want to understand yourself, right? If you can understand yourself subconsciously, so my moon is in Cancer, in the ninth house, so that's something like that. That's how I really relate to people. Like, I relate to people in that space where I relate to a multitude of people, but it's like I'm in the ocean. And so the molecules that are representative people, they could connect to me in many different ways. And people wade to me like, oh, hood mystic, you my nigga, I love you, we past life Kendricks. And then they'll just what, you know, I ain't heard from you in a year, brother, how you been doing? I was like, brother, I thought we was kindred souls. Like, what happened? But it's just like, I'm moon in Cancer, so it's like people come, people go, you know. And so I understand this about myself, so I don't really hold on to nothing. But when we come into connection, you know, in water, it's a beautiful experience. And when we wade, you know, we're wading to different experiences, and that's kind of how I understand it. So now when it comes to you know, creating a mythos, you want to start with the moon, because your sun sign is just it, it is what it is. It comes into play. It helps you, but really that subconscious level. And then from, which is interesting, you want to deal with Venus, because Venus is actually gonna free you. Venus gives you, so Venus is your Helen of Troy, and Helen of Troy is like, what will you do to get your girl back? And your girl is your other side. So if you have to, you know, fake it into a goddamn horse and get snuck in, and it's whoever got the most cleverest plan to get their other side back. And that's what we're all trying to do. We're just trying to find our other half. And when you find your other half, the work isn't done. That's when the real work begins, because that shit is going to be tested, and you need to figure out how to master that shit. But it's always steps or evolutions or revolutions. So, you know, what is your purpose in life? If you're, the hard thing is to in creating your mythos is saying, I need to find my other half. Even if you're in a relationship, or if you found your other half, is okay, now we need to fine tune this mythos. Even in ancient Egyptian mythology and things of that nature, it wasn't never a point where one husband and one wife, there was multiple, like the women would be with multiple gods, like, you know, multiple different things happening, because this is nature, and this is creation, and this is science. In science, you don't want to go into the lab like, what are we doing today in the lab? Oh, we're just going to mix the same old products. We're going to mix H2O and create water. I know it's gonna be a scientist like, bro, what if we just add a little bit of neon in that shit? Like, what if we did diamond water? What would be the effects of that? Like, this is scientists, this is science, and this is love. So the curiosity of each other is something that we gotta really investigate moving forward, and however that looks for you. My Venus is in Saturn, and people said it's a hard position. What are your thoughts? Your Venus is conjunct Saturn, I imagine. It depends on what planet. If you can enlighten me on what constellation or what house it is, I can give you more thoughts. But Venus Venus conjunct Saturn within itself does not seem like a hard placement. It seems like a placement of for sure freedom. And or it could be a level of being disciplined and feeling disciplined or feeling safe in your boundaries or feeling safe at home, feeling safe in relationships, or it could be like you're a good team player. Like I will see you like a good assistant and not feeling like, oh, I ain't no assistant. I'm a boss, but like you really got that team player mentality where you're not really trying to be the main one. You really trying to support. So I would really see Venus and Venus conjunct Saturn as a salvation aspect, more to what we're talking about today. Excuse me. Man, I know y'all got questions, bro. Like you paradigm, I would say your ultimate freedom is in healing, or not even in healing, but like healing, that's a cliche ass word, but in really using your voice and really coming to understand that you are not labeled by your path. So if there's thoughts of depression, thoughts of like severe anxiety and things of that nature, like you have to really process that and not process it for the sake of, cool points, but process it because you have a voice that needs to be used because other people have been through what you've been through. And what you've been through is not really to torment you or hurt you, is actually so you can use it in a form that's very creative and be super uber successful in whatever you decide to do. But it's really a level of processing your pain. If your Venus is in Pisces, you should. I mean, if your Venus is in Pisces, I would say that you should deal with your fear and the levels of monogamy, because monogamy is something that really either confuses you and it always puts you in vulnerable and messed up positions because you say things that you really don't mean. That's what I would say if you had a Venus in Pisces. Understand why you say the things that you say, and then learn to say things that are in alignment with your energy and not alignment with what people expect of you. Face your fears. Your fears are something that's going to free you. I would really Google esoteric astrology, very simple, and which is what is very key. Each planet controls a particular part of the body. Write that down. Understand that. So if I'm talking about Neptune, you automatically go to third eye. If I'm talking about Saturn, you automatically go to time and skin. Like skin and time is relative because you know how old I am by how my skin is. Even though I may not look 34, you know what I'm saying? But that's because me and my Saturn, we get along. It's 34 old shit. It was people that I knew that was 26 that looked 48. You know what I'm saying? Because their relationship with Saturn wasn't all at 100. So you gotta understand that each planet, each asteroid, each comet, each everything that's going on in the celestial world can be a microcosm of you. And understanding that first and foremost, before we start talking about planets, houses, aspects, or nothing, like if you don't understand that Neptune is the third eye or Uranus is the pituitary, then you're not gonna, esoteric astrology is gonna keep going over your head because you're still trying to get Ray back. Peace. Yeah, I think Pisces is y'all should be with anybody that y'all want to, wherever your spirit is leading you. Don't Pisces, y'all ain't got no type. Like if you're a Pisces, you really gotta understand that your love is very important to the world and development of the love of individuals throughout the planet. Like you have a responsibility if you're a Pisces to love, and whatever blocks or fears you have to that love is very beneficial to the planet if you work it out and not be all up into types and things of that nature. Meaning that it always is always duality. You don't have two left feet. You don't have two right feet. You have a left foot and a right foot. So um man, a left foot and a right foot. A left foot and a right foot. So understanding that one is the other and the other is the other, and you don't even have feet if there is no duality, meaning that you don't move without duality. Light, dark, left, right is what's needed to get movement, to understand yourself, and you have to really go towards that. And wherever you find yourself, where a Pisces that's like in the darkness or uneducated or not into itself, it would really feel like I just need a left foot. Like, can you understand how damage it would be to just only desire a left foot? Because everybody say that left foots are good, but like right foots ain't no good, but you still need a right foot. So um learning to be balanced. And as far as being gay, is that bad? Like, I don't know. Is it? Y'all tell me, is being gay bad? Because I don't know. I'm just in my relationship, so I'm not heterosexual or nothing like that. Like I'm just in love with my wife, and ain't no title for that. Ain't no label for that. Ain't no. I don't want to fall into nobody's category. I feel all categories just bad. Venus and Scorpio, I would say, is once again, it depends on what house. It depends on the particular aspects to it. But just in the sense of it, I would just balance whatever experience you had in totality and embrace the fuck shit. Like embrace the dark shit and balance the dark shit, and knowing that the dark shit does not identify you, but it's actually going to help sustain you and build you up, cuz where people might identify you with dark shit, that's on them. Really knowing who you are internally and seeing the world as it is, and like, okay, I can just see the world and balance this world, good and bad, and I am who I am. But even in your name, like the trap goddess would be Venus and Scorpio. It's like the trap is bad, but you a trap goddess, so it's like you mastered those two elements, the trap and the goddess energy, and created this new particular energy on the planet that's like trap goddess. So I think you nailed it within your name and in your being. Understanding your own astrology, you just got to really deal with it at a basic fundamental level. You got to deal with it. You got to understand what each planet represent from a mythology space. So if you, so I think people if you don't understand mythology, if you don't understand psychology, if you don't understand human nature, if you don't understand philosophy, then astrology is going to go over your head. Because astrology is a encompassing of all sciences based upon correspondence. So therefore, if you're not fully in tune to the human experience and you're just trying to figure out what Venus means and you're trying to read a book, then it's just not gonna make sense. So just continue to learn and continue to practice your astrology. Look at your chart daily. Compare your chart to the astrological changes, and just take your time and study everything one at a time and learn. The way that I learned astrology is through tables, writing my own tables and rewriting my own tables, notebooks. Like, what does Venus mean? How does Venus show up? Give myself examples. Like you got to teach yourself based upon how you learn. If you're an audio learner, talk about it. If you're a visual learner, write it out. If you're like artistic, draw pictures and things of that nature. But this shit is not gonna learn itself. Like, and it's not even no real good books to start off in astrology, to be honest, because astrology is valid and invalid at the same time. Because if I'm talking about Venus as the planet of freeing you, and the next person is talking about Venus as the planet of love, then me and him is having two different conversations in the realms of astrology, and you gonna resonate to what he talking about, where Venus is talking about love, because you want love. It don't mean that what he's saying is valid or true. He's just picking up on something that you really want and tying it into astrology. But Venus don't got shit to do with love. Venus is poisonous. You can't walk up into Venus without dying. So death, in a sense, is how you free yourself. And when it comes to love, you got to really burn yourself to that shit. That shit ain't pleasant. You got to see your girlfriend cheat on you and still figure out how you going to love this person. Or your husband cheat on you and figure out how you gonna love them. So like, a lot of people ain't ready for that. So a lot of people ain't even ready for love. It's like, am I saying you're supposed to cheat on your girl? No, but you're supposed to know what to do if they do without it compromising or sacrificing your love. The conditional love, right? So in astrology, they talk about conditional finances, conditional love, when the planets don't got shit to do with that. There's no condition to Saturn. When you get old, you get old. You don't never say, can I take back a couple years? I fucked up, Saturn. Nope. So where are you at in your understanding that, the moment is now? And understanding astrology is something that you have to understand for yourself. It's nothing that an astrologer can really tell you about your own personal astrology up to a point. Like, my astrology readings are more difficult than another person's astrology reading, because I'm not going to sit on the phone with you for an hour and tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I observe I'm going to tell you what I see. Does that resonate with you? No? Yes? Okay. Well, astrologically speaking, this card says, how do you feel about that? Well, I ain't really ready to deal with that. Stay away from readings. Huh? Yeah, stay away from my readings, because I'm not about to be like it's like, I don't want to tell the truth to people all the time either. It's like, because like, don't nobody really want the truth. I know what you want. I can sense what you want. You want me to tell you that everything is gonna be all right. Morris Chestnut is going to knock at your door, but he going to be a postman. So just know that Morris Chestnut is a postman and let him in. Like, I'm not a fortune teller. I'm a reader. I'm reading your chart based upon knowledge and understanding and esoterics and mythology and psychology and all of these things that get factored into a reading. because all of these things are important. Most people, it's not important to them. Their dollars, your dollars is important, and whatever the case, and giving you some feel good. People come to me a year later from the reading, like, what you said, or that document that you sent, or that book you told me about, like it really resonated, and things of that nature. For me, that's what it's about. Really helping the individual, and not telling the individual what they want to hear. So that was a long-winded answer to say you got to really develop your astrology for yourself, your mythology for yourself. How to start off mythology, or how to start off astrology, is buy a notebook and journal and document your experiences. If the moon is in Sagittarius, then you need, like, that's just an example. Say for instance the moon is in Sagittarius. What does the moon in Sagittarius mean? Well, you don't know until you start journaling. Okay, today the moon is in Sagittarius and my mama was fucking tripping. Next thing you know, next week you journaling, mama tripping again. Oh shit, moon in Sagittarius must mean that my mama is tripping. So therefore, throughout your weeks, you could be like, oh, the moon is gonna be in Sagittarius. Let me go buy mama some flowers, because we already know she gonna be tripping. So, like, you gotta study the shit for yourself. And if somebody tell you, like, the moon in Sagittarius don't mean that your mama tripping, you be like, all right, nigga, you just don't know my mom and you don't know my experience. This is Gnosis. This is personal experience. And hopefully you want to find somebody whose moon in Sagittarius, they mama be tripping too. It's just that's a joke, but something that to think about, or something to process. Venus is Scorpio in the fifth house is like, you need to really, I would see sexual energy as a form of creativity, and not as a form of, it's like not a form of pleasure, but a form of education, like sexual education, where like pole dancing school, or you know the various forms that women I see are using sexual energy as a form of, come up. It's like you very good in the area, in the realms of dark art or sexual tantra and things of that nature, and bringing that to the forefront as a business model, and not as a way to, make a lot of money, even though you will, but as a way to help other women who are low key clueless out here. So Brittany, I hope that you received that. If that, let me know if that made sense for real. Yeah, Nate, you really gotta really study yourself, because these books will have you all fucked up. I'm not even gonna give you no bad book to read. Esoteric Astrology by Alice Bailey is a difficult book to read, but it's good. It's good, but it's difficult. But easy is really studying it yourself, getting you a notebook and journaling your ass off, and corresponding each astrological aspect to some shit that's happening in your life. And can't nobody tell you that it's wrong, because it's you're a scientist at this point. Like, only way a person can tell you that your scientist experiment is wrong is if they do that same experiment and they get a different result or the same result. But 10 times out of 10, they're not going to put in the work that you put in to be able to tell you something different. So, real astrologer, fake astrologer, it's hard to tell. You know a fake astrologer if they just placate into your ego. Like, you're gonna find love today. Today is the day of love. Oh, and your Jupiter is in Sagittarius, so that means you should be looking for a money windfall. You're gonna get a money windfall very soon. Like, I like astrology readers on YouTube, man. I don't know how y'all be doing that shit. I don't know how y'all do it. Oh shit. uh I just had to I be really needing something though too. You just be like, you be really like clicking on that shit like, what they talking about today, and it just be like, mm, I can't deal. Peace, divine peace. The check is in the mail. The check is coming. So what did they talk about? Like I seen so many like lunar eclipse videos out there. Like what was they talking about? I couldn't even click on them shits. That shit was so sensational. Facts. Twin flame this, twin flame that. Your twin flame. Just because your twin flame is in a relationship, you still have to write them letters as if they're not in relationships. Take claim to your twin flame this month. Oh, shit. Come on, man. Enough with the twin flame, the love stories. Let's deal with ourselves. Let's deal with our mythologies. Let's create our mythologies. Let's take it to the next level. Everything that I discuss is about taking yourself spiritual, taking yourself. I just created another word. Spiritually, spiritual and serious together. Take yourself seriously. Don't play with yourself. Until next week, man, we back with these daily energy readings. Much love to y'all. Make sure you join me on the Slack. Ask to get joined to the notes, and we'll be here, man, delivering this information, following these stars. Hood Mystic at Hood Mystic. Yeah, Hood Mystic. www.hoodmystic.com, hoodmystic@gmail.com. Peace from my family to yours. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Be sure to stay safe and warm. I know, but I ain't coming back tomorrow. Yeah, so stay safe, and stay warm. If you're in the Northeast, if you in the down south, send me some airplane tickets. I got John. He can sit in your lap. So I need 4 airplane tickets if you down south, cause it's cold up here, man. We need some refuge. I don't want no donations, no more. I just want airplane tickets. Peace.